If you've ever just come up with the most beautiful theme that you've ever written in your life, and then you realize that you lifted it from the last Disney movie that you watched, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hi, I'm Ryan Thomas with 8Dio, and this video is the product walkthrough for the 8Dio Soulful Studio Trumpet 2, which is a deep sampled solo trumpet library with over 50 different articulations, including hyper-realistic legato, and it's part of the Soulful Studio Brass series, so it integrates really well with all the other instruments in that series, and it has all the same articulations as first trumpet, but of course it has a different sound, so it actually sounds like a different player, and that's a very valuable thing to have when you are writing for a brass section. So we're just going to very briefly review the interface and the articulation categories, and then we are just going to audition each articulation so that you can hear each one at least once. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have a blank instance of Contact here so that you can see all the different kinds of patches that you can load. So of course you have the individual articulations that you can load if you only need one articulation and you don't want to deal with the key switching. Or you can load up the prearranged key switch patch, which basically comes pre-populated with a lot of the more common articulations that you are going to use. And of course you can change these if you want to. And then you have the key switch patch that is just totally empty, so you can populate the key switch however you want to with any articulation out of these four categories. So you have the traditional articulations, which include the more common articulations that you'll be using. You've got the muted articulations, which includes a variety of different mutes. The performance articulations, which is basically going to be your pre-recorded phrases, as well as the arcs. And then you have the effects, which are going to be your bends, your flutter tongues, and of course your different effects. And over here in the instrument panel, you've got the basic controls for the sound of the instrument. And this is the mic position knob. I'm going to show you how this affects the sound a little bit later on in the video, but for now just know that in all the examples that you're going to hear, I just have the mic position set right between the close mic and the room mic. And this is going to be the pan control and the basic volume control. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start auditioning these articulations. And we're just going to start right here in the traditional category and work our way through each articulation. So we're starting off with the staccato. This is the staccatissimo. This is the staccatissimo 2. And the difference here between staccatissimo and staccatissimo 2 is that with staccatissimo you get a ta, whereas with staccatissimo 2 you get a tat. So the ending is going to be more clipped. So let's move on to the marcato. So of course those are velocity sensitive. And then you've got the marcato sforzando. The sustains. The vibrato sustains. Now we're going to spend a little bit more time with the legato, of course, because it is such a central component to any good solo instrument library, and the legato for the Studio Brass series in particular is just really brilliantly scripted. So just be aware that the length of the legato transition is determined by the velocity of the notes that you're playing. So at the higher velocities, you'll get a shorter legato transition, whereas at the lower velocities, you'll get a much longer transition. So you can either play these really nimble, fast passages with a lot of realism, or it can sound very emotional and very passionate with those more drawn-out legato transitions. So here's just a live demo for you. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to show you the difference in the sound between Trumpet 1 and Trumpet 2. So let's check that out real quick. Now I'm going to have this stereo field analyzer open so that you can not only hear, but also see the difference between Trumpet 1 and Trumpet 2. Trumpet 1 is going to be a little bit more focused. So you can see what that stereo image looks like. It's very much just right up the center. And then Trumpet 2 is going to be just a little bit more diffuse. Which kind of makes sense for Trumpet 2. Now keep in mind that I am using the exact same mic mix for both Trumpet 1 and Trumpet 2. So Trumpet 2, you get the same quality of sound, but the character is just different enough to where, again, it really sounds like you've got two players instead of just one player that has, played two tracks. And I really like having that effect. So I think it is really nice to have both Trumpet 1 as well as Trumpet 2 when you're writing for the whole brass section. So I also want to take this opportunity to go ahead and show you how the mic position is going to affect the sound. So we're going to start with the mic position set 100% to the close mic, and then by the end of the selection, you are only going to be hearing the room mic. So with some reverb, the room mic could even fit well in an orchestral context. So I like that those two mic positions give you quite a few different options in terms of the different contexts that you can be using this instrument in. Okay, let's go back to the traditional articulations and finish listening to those. So we've got the whole note trill. The half note trill. And then we just have a couple other articulations that I wasn't able to fit in that other key switch. So we've got the whole note trill, just a single trill. And these are velocity sensitive. And then you have just the single half note trill. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the mutes. And we're going to start with the staccato straight mutes. The marcato straight mutes. The sustains with the straight mute. This is the staccato with the harmon. The marcato with the harmon mute. The sustains with the harmon mute. This is the short wah. This is the long wah. And this is the sustain wah. Yeah, just a ton of fun to play with, and they just give you that really great old-timey sound. All right, let's check out the performance articulations. And we are going to start off with the short arcs. These are the medium arcs. These are the long arcs. Just so beautiful and delicate. All right, these are the tuplets. These are the triplets. These are the da-das. These are the da-da-das. These are the measured trims. Hey, bud. Now these runs patches that you're about to hear, they'll be ascending when the pitch wheel is oriented upwards. They'll be descending when it's oriented downwards. So we're going to start with ascending. And now descending. And these are the fast runs. And these are the final two articulations in the performance category. So these are the octave runs. And these are the fast octave runs. Okay, let's go ahead and check out the effects articulations. And these are just a ton of fun. They add a lot of color to your writing. So we're going to start off with the flutter tongue. The slow scoops. the medium scoops, the fast scoops, the Deutz slow, the fast Deutz, the slow falls, the fast falls, the disco drops, the rips, and then we just have a couple other articulations that I wasn't able to fit in the other contact instance. So these are the short shakes. And these are the long shakes. Okay, now let's go ahead and check out just a couple musical examples I've made here that show how you can sort of mix and match different articulations in useful ways. So this first one here is kind of jazzy. Now, of course, normally, if you were to write something like this, you would have, the trombones and the saxophones on these various notes, but I'm just using the trumpets for this. And that's all just using the second trumpet. Okay, and then we have this one here, which is kind of a comedy excerpt. Yeah, so there's just so much that you can do with the library. There really aren't that many limiting factors here. You've got the very different mic positions that can either put it in a nice intimate studio context, or I think it'd sound great in an orchestral context as well. And when you're using it with all the other brass libraries in this series, it just locks in so well with those, and it's just a ton of fun to use. So that is going to do it for the walkthrough. I hope you were able to get a pretty good idea for the feel of the library, and I want to thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.